live and online. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Back and better than ever, Sleepless with Steve, laggier as ever, but as live as ever and in living color. Sleepless with Steve, going very rogue over here. I look like Joe when you were up in space a couple of weeks ago, vertical.
Yeah, man, you got the NASA connection now, dude. They only can hook you up with vertical stuff and an echoey mic.
Exactly, yeah, or no mic over here, micless, you know. So we're going in raw for Sleepless with Steve tonight. What's going on? Steve Pulaski, joined by my two cohorts, the tireless Joe Viso, who somehow makes this operation run so cleanly despite technical difficulties on mine and his end, and Dominic Guanzon, who just shows up and turns the mic on and is admittedly the smartest person in the room when it comes to at least eloquence and, I guess you would say, external opinions about movies and such. But we are doing the best we can. We are working with what we got tonight because we got two drastically different movies in store to review today. Two very different movies. I'll be ending the show with a review of Clerks 3. Had its theatrical premiere yesterday in theaters till September 18th. So I'll be talking about that, and that's a Fathom event in limited theaters. I was really happy I got to go see it. And now I can die. Now I can die now, because I would always make the joke to my friends. I would always say, I can't die until I see Clerks 3. And then I woke up this morning thinking, like, I can die now. It's a very interesting feeling, you know, when you have that. You know, I don't know if there's a movie in your guys' mind or something where it's like ultimate contentment. I had an old boss back in the day, and his was Top Gun Maverick, actually.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
So, 2022, big year for both of us, I guess. But we are back, and we are ready to get this show on the road. But first things first, I would be remiss if I did not ask my buddies how they are doing. Joe, how are you?
Man, I am busy. Thank God this was a week we got to watch a movie at home. I did actually have free time, though, yesterday, last minute, because originally I had plans to go somewhere, and then those plans fell through. And I was like, well, shit, I got like a whole night to myself right now. And like, I knocked out a few homework assignments, some discussion posts I had to do, and then I went to see a movie we're not talking about, but I will say, if you're a fan of horror, go check it out. Barbarian, I forgot how they pronounce it in the movie. I will just say, if you are a fan of horror, you will love this film, and if you are terrified of horror films like Dom is, avoid this movie like the fucking plague, man. This is not made for the faint of heart when it comes to horror films. But that is all I will say. I don't want to reveal too much because I think the trailer has done a great job at hiding what this movie is about.
Yeah, you bastard. You beat me to that one. I'm excited. I'm seeing it on Saturday, I believe. Yeah. I got tied up with some things last week, and by tied up, I mean went to a Dierks Bentley concert last week, so that's why I didn't see Barbarian.
I was going to do a double feature. For those of you who don't know, I'm going on a trip soon, so I might be vertical like Steve next week as well. I was going to do a double feature, and I was going to go watch Pearl and then go watch this right after, but now I'll be checking out Pearl, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm seeing Pearl tomorrow night. Very excited about that. Then I'm seeing a Christian movie called Running the Bases on Friday. It'll be a very eye-opening experience for me, I bet. And then Barbarian on Saturday. And then there's also a couple other movies coming out. I don't think I've scheduled it, which is my fault. But depending on how it looks, I know Blonde's coming out, that Marilyn Monroe biopic that had its premiere last night.
Yep.
I know that's coming out on the 28th, I want to say. So we'll have to make time for that too, hopefully down the road. But Dom, how are you today on this fine evening?
I'm doing okay, and you can't see any of it, and you shouldn't see any of it, but I'm looking at so many like personal things, like banking, property, HOA crap, you know, all the boring adult stuff that you fear when you're younger. And it's like I can't do any of it because they all stop taking calls at like 4:00 and I don't get home until 6.
Oh, that's always the worst, man.
Bro, it's so
there are
dumb.
Certain institutions that need to have more flexible hours. Now, I'm not saying you need to be 24/7,
no.
But things like banks need to be like 10-7 or something.
Yeah, I can take like not opening at 7 or 8. That's fine. But yeah, dude.
It's the same like when I was looking for an apartment. Like when I was looking for an apartment out here, it's all business hours. You got to take a day off of work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really
and
do.
that's what people tell me. It's like, take a day off of work. I'm like, well, you're clearly over 50. Like,
Yeah, exactly. It's not as easy as you make it sound.
You know, your bosses sometimes
That's
go,
frustrating.
"Oh, why do you have to take a day off?" And you're just like, "Why the fuck do I have to tell you?"
You know?
I'm blowing through our F bombs, but it's just been a week for me, man. I'm sorry.
I feel it. It's okay. I
You guys have
noticed.
seen you guys have seen Friday, the movie Friday. It's like the word of the day is job, Job, and I'm like, no, the word of the day, PTO. That's the word of the day today. That's the word of the damn day over here. We might as well march forward though because we got a lot of ground to cover too. I want to say quick. I know this name doesn't mean a whole lot to Joe and Dom. I'm very pretentious, and especially in high school, I absolutely was, and lost one of, and I don't say this lightly, probably one of the greatest living directors. Easily was one of the greatest living directors, one of the greatest directors of all time, though I would make that claim too. Jean-Luc Godard died on yesterday at the age of 91. Jean-Luc Godard is a name that I don't think means a lot to the average American, but this guy instrumental in French New Wave cinema in the 1960s. That's when France kind of broke away. And I'm not even supremely well schooled, but the TLDR, that was when France, a group of directors like Truffaut and Godard, broke away from a lot of the stuffy, kind of smothering nature of traditionalist French cinema that populated the 30s and 40s and worked to establish something that was subversive in form. A lot of jump cuts. A lot of people credit Godard with the modern day jump cut because his movie Breathless was one of the first to use that as instrumental to the film structure. Godard, famous for the movie Breathless, as I just mentioned, Pierrot Le Fou. There was that one. Vivre sa vie, which is another one of my favorites. That was another one of my favorites. Vivre sa vie. That was when he was married to Anna Karina. Anna Karina. This is a Danish actress, I do believe. She was in a lot of his early stuff. They were married in the mid to early 60s. So she was absolutely his muse during a lot of the French New Wave cinema. Contempt, Weekend. I believe that's the one I recommended to you, Dom. Weekend. That's famous for its like 7-minute long traffic jam shot. There's so much of his filmography that is so important to understanding and appreciating movies. It's honestly kind of funny, and I'd have to go back and watch it to see what I think of it now. But Histoire du Cinéma, and this is my very butchered French pronunciation, but Histoire du Cinéma, that was I want to say like a 6-hour kind of like film documentary / miniseries. In Histoire du Cinéma, you can kind of piece together his history of cinema. And he chronicles like the history of cinema in a very Godardian fashion, which means it's very jumbled, it's very jump cutty, and there's only maybe sporadic bits and pieces that you can pull away to make total sense. I'm not going to pretend like I love all of Godard's movies. I haven't seen half of them. I've probably seen, if I'm being generous, a third of them. So there's still a lot that I have to cover. But Jean-Luc Godard, though, I'm not going to pretend I've liked everything I've seen by him, but he is single-handedly one of the most important movie directors to ever walk the face of the earth, to ever turn on a camera and really try to monkey and change the form in which film can be viewed and structured. And I stopped when I saw, because I was surprised that I didn't get any of the film critics that I follow tweeting about it. I saw it from a friend yesterday in the middle of my work day. And I mean, the guy's 91. He's lived a full life. I think his most recent movie came out 2 years ago. So like, it shouldn't be shocking when a 91-year-old man passes, and I don't think shocking is the appropriate word. But at the same time, it was definitely a stop me in my tracks kind of a moment. It was funny, and this is apropos of nothing either, but I was about to do an interview on the radio with somebody, and as a friend of mine, she came in to do the interview like 2 minutes after I found it. She goes, "How you doing?" I'm like, "I'm all right." I'm like, "Jean-Luc Godard just died," as if she cared. But But Jean-Luc Godard, I highly recommend if you have not seen any of his movies to watch him. It's some of his movies are a very tough watch. I believe I've seen every movie he made in the '60s. I believe that was how I chronicled it back in high school. But take with it what you will. But he is absolutely instrumental into my love and appreciation of movies. And I'm glad we got 91 years with the man because he's a magician. So I want to say rest in peace, Jean-Luc Godard. Great director. And definitely inspires me, especially over the long winter when the weather gets crappy, to go back and rewatch some of his stuff and watch some of his older stuff. So that's where I will leave Jean-Luc Godard. Highly recommend Breathless and Weekend for you, Dom, if you're looking for a place to start.
For sure. Respect to the people that made this art form, and influence their influence will reach people that they won't even know that they're being influenced by. It's because particularly in the '60s there was some shit going on back then that was mind blowing and still is. So,
to say the least, yeah, great director though. Own some of his stuff on DVD too. Remember buying from the library for like 50 cents because shockingly, people didn't rent it. But anyway, we will persist on and move forward because, man, and you know what? I'm just going to start by saying this with this movie. If I'd have known this movie was this weird, I might not have made it a Sleepless movie, but there's so little out now. There's so little out in theaters, and I couldn't see Barbarian this week either, or I would have suggested Barbarian, probably would have given Dom nightmares.
Oh, yeah.
At least for Joe's description of it. God, I'm excited because I don't know a ton about it, so I'm excited
Keep it that way.
But if I didn't know that this movie was this weird, I don't know if I would have made it a Sleepless movie.
Here's the thing.
The movie is called... Go on.
I was going to say, I'm like, if anything, this challenged me as a film, like, geek, whatever you want to call us, film enthusiasts, people, like, people like that. It very much challenged me when it comes to that. Because when I get to the review, I'll explain even more. But, like, Steve is definitely right. This is a weird, not your everyday type of movie that you will see. It very much is like you would probably see this at like Fantastic Fest or South by Southwest in the early show times, the early morning screenings where like they don't have the big stuff going on.
I don't think we've even said the title yet. The movie is called We're All Going to the World's Fair. It is now on HBO Max. It's made and featuring a lot of people you probably haven't heard of. The one name, I guess Michael J. Rogers. He's been in a lot of different stuff. He was in Mortal Kombat, the TV series. He's also in Hellraiser Hellseeker. I kind of vaguely remember him in Hellraiser Hellseeker now that I think about it. Even though that was years ago and he did look different. I think I can picture who he is, though. Anyway, the one name that caught my eye on this, David Lowery is a producer on this. David Lowery has made some of the most exceptional movies of the last decade, including A Ghost Story. He made that. He made The Green Knight. He made Pete's Dragon. David Lowery is one of my favorite directors working today. Yeah. So, and like I said, he's just a producer, but he's so damn good. The director of this is Jane Schoenbrunn. They're the one who directed and wrote the movie as well. But this is a strange movie to summarize. I'm going to do my best here because it's 86 minutes long, occasionally feels longer. But it premiered at Sundance, and I remember it premiering at Sundance. I think it conflicted with Cha-Cha Real Smooth, which is why I didn't watch it. But I remember seeing the name of it and like being attracted to the title alone. And then that poster, that'll be ingrained in your retina after you look at it. But the movie revolves around a lonely teenage girl. Her name is Casey. She's played by Anna Cobb in her first movie role. And the opening of the movie is her doing this World's Fair challenge, one of these internet challenges where you say, I want to go to the World's Fair 3 times. Correct me if I'm wrong. You say, I want to go to the World's Fair 3 times. Then you prick your finger repeatedly, and then you smear blood on your computer. Did I hit all the bases?
And you watch a seizure-inducing flashing light video.
That's what it is. You watch this blinking. God, this thing needed to come with an epilepsy warning, too. Like, thank God I don't have seizures because this thing needs to come. That's just one firm trigger warning I believe in is like the flashing light strobe effect thing. Like they need to advertise that, I think, even more than they do. And it's for this thing especially because this thing gets bad at a couple of times. But anyway, so yeah, she does this internet challenge and the whole movie then essentially follows her. This is a girl who has no social interaction, not very little social interaction. I mean, none. Socially inept. She's got to be what, 12, 13? She's got to be somewhere around that age. And she lives her entire life on her phone or on the computer. And the scary part is that, especially in the, I don't want to say post-COVID because that's nebulous, but in the pandemic era, I think this is frighteningly common. Maybe not to the dramatic extent, but the isolation factor, I think, absolutely. But the movie follows her because after you do this World's Fair challenge, it's common for people to post videos on the internet of like their body changing in very weird ways. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a guy and it involves Tetris, and it's so bizarre. And it's so damn bizarre. And you're sitting there like, I think it was at that point I was like, what the fuck did I make these guys watch? If I didn't know this was this weird, I'd have saved it for StevePulaski.com. I mean, but anyway, there's only really two actors in the movie. It's Anna Cobb, who plays the lead girl, Casey, and then there's Michael J. Rogers, who plays this internet user named JLB, who messages her and sort of like watches over people who play this game, like watches them through the videos they upload in lieu of taking the World's Fair challenge. That is the plot of this movie. A lot of the movie is sparse. A lot of it is free of dialogue. And a lot of it is, I would say, effectively disturbing, because this is one of those movies you don't know where it's going next. You don't know what the next scene is going to bring. And you're almost waiting for jump scares, and a lot of the time they don't come. It's more of a mood movie. It's more of a sparse essence kind of a movie where a lot of it is atmosphere based. A lot of it is based on your ability not to guess where it's going. I was just thinking Jean-Luc Godard to be proud of us and being duped into reviewing this thing. But we're all going to the World's Fair, and we're all going to talk about the World's Fair. And I don't even know if I've processed all that I feel about we're all going to the World's Fair. So I'm throwing it over to somebody smarter than me. Dom, what you got on the movie?
I am not a horror person.
No.
And this movie is the reason why. I can handle Conjuring. I can handle X. I'm probably going to be able to handle Pearl. I can handle, all those movies, all those typical, Halloween. I can watch those all day from what I know. I haven't even seen the original, but I've seen the most recent ones. The reboot.
Evil Dies Tonight.
Yeah, exactly. That. Oh God, I freaking love that in its own stupid way. But this movie it scares me. It is disturbing is the apt word here. It gets under your skin. Literally, there is a scene that comes out of someone's skin. Oh my God. And yeah, it's the fear of the unknown, because even in a movie like The Conjuring, you kind of know. It's like, all right, we're in a hallway. We know where they're going to kind of go next. We have a grounding. You're on YouTube with this thing. This is YouTube. This is a YouTube Infinite playlist, and you have no idea what's happening.
You ever fall asleep with autoplay on and then wake up and go, "What the hell did I watch?"
I don't.
That's the
reason why I don't.
100%.
That's the reason why I don't. And yeah, dude, this is really the kind of movie that after if you're like getting into it with someone about just movies in general, maybe someone you just met or someone you don't know that well. This is the movie after a little bit of rapport. You kind of pull out to see like how deep they go. It's like, all right, how into movies are you? Like, how much can you tolerate really? And that's not even like on an elitist level, because I don't even know if you should necessarily like this movie, but it's more like, how weird can you get?
Yeah.
Do
you even know this movie exists?
Exactly. Not even exists, but like if you told them to watch it and then they came back to you the next day, they'd be like, what the hell? It's like,
your friendship might be tested.
Exactly. It's one you test with. And honestly, Steve, you tested us here a little bit, but I am genuinely very glad that you made us watch this, because it is so different. And in a way, it's refreshing, not just for this year, but in the horror genre. And I would place this in horror. I know a lot of people might. It's less horror and more. I've seen coming of age, which is correct. I would place it under horror just because it is. It taps into the absolute core of the unknown, and I strongly this movie is vague enough where it can go a lot of different directions. I've seen some, and I usually don't look up movies. I usually try to form my own opinion before going into this show, and then afterwards I'll do some more deep dive. No, dude, I jumped straight into it coming out of this movie at home with Chelsea watching. And I was so scared of it. We watched it on our TV with the lights on, and that first scene, I actually respect it. That first scene that lasts like 10 minutes, it feels like, or like the really longest 5 minutes of your life. I actually brought the browser window because I have a computer tower hooked up to my TV. I don't have cable. I actually like pulled the window aside, and like half of my screen was my desktop, and just to like give me a sense of safety, just like blank was my desktop, and just to like give me a sense of safety, just like blanky mode. And it's like, did I ruin the atmosphere? Absolutely. But again, this movie is the reason, more than any of the movies that we've seen thus far, or last year, and probably even with Pearl. You know, that Pearl's gonna feel like a freaking joyride through the 20s or whatever compared to this. Yeah, dude, this is the reason why I get scared. And honestly, I have delved into it. I'm surprised no one's pulled out the word copy pasta yet, or YouTube copy pasta.
I've seen creepy pasta thrown.
I'm so sorry. I messed it up. It is creepy pasta. Copy pasta is like a meme thing.
I've seen creepy pasta thrown around.
Yeah, exactly. Creepy pasta. The back rooms. Before it got kind of gamified, but the actual like core of the back rooms. SCP, if you guys know what that is, secure, contain, protect. A lot of that stuff, particularly in their formative years, where it was really like unknown, you know. You didn't know if it was real or not. Like,
the Majora's Mask one of that kid drowning or whatever, like that one always creeped me out.
Some stuff like that. Yeah. I don't know if I know what you're talking about, but
people are
stuff
weird.
Like that.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You
exactly.
people are weird.
You made us watch this movie, man.
No. Steve, I'm glad you brought that up, because another reason why this hits so well is because it taps into the intimacy. There are two freaking characters in this movie. Yeah. There's just some glimpses into, by the way, it's an actual ASMR YouTuber. I actually looked at their channel. They got a real ASMR person. And some other random people on YouTube. And then I think the dad has like 2 lines out of frame. But it is essentially 2 people here. And they're talking, at first, not even directly. They're talking through YouTube videos. Yeah. Which in this day and age is the most back-assward way of doing it, indirect way of doing it. And I need to go back and look at the details, but a lot of the videos here, I feel like they would have been like view counts in the triple digits at most, if not double digits. And that is like another level where it's like, dude, that fits perfectly. Because Steve, you mentioned that you know, in the pandemic era, you know, there's so much isolation. Absolutely. But even in my grade school years, growing up in the early to mid internet, in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, I did like delve into a lot of that stuff, and it was unknown territory. A lot of it wasn't codified yet. A lot of it wasn't really mainstream yet. And yeah, dude, going down rabbit holes of creepy videos, even if they didn't mean to be. Nowadays, it's a genre, it's a concerted thing, and that's, you know, it's good. With Apex being probably this movie thus far. But early on, when that stuff was just on the frontier, dude, those double-digit YouTube videos, you didn't even have much to share it with. No comments, maybe one comment. That's probably a spam bot. It's a very intimate experience, because it's not a mainstream movie. It's not on TV where, you know, maybe no one recorded it, but maybe thousands of people did watch it. But no, dude. Early internet, that stuff is crazy. And this movie, at the absolute core of it, taps into that so freaking well for me. And this is the scariest movie I have seen that we have probably watched together.
Wow.
Indeed.
I had a lot to say. I had a lot to say right there. So Steve, I really genuinely, I'm glad you made us watch this movie.
Interesting. I wonder if Joe feels the same way. What you got, Joe?
So you saw my Letterboxd review?
I didn't read it. I just glanced at the star rating.
All right. Well, I mean, look, I will give credit where credit is due. This director, I don't want to butcher their name.
Jane,
Sho-
Schoenbrunn.
Schoenbrunn. They did a fantastic job with the atmosphere of this movie. And by that I mean the atmosphere of just being alone, isolated, searching for a connection. This like little girl like coming of age, typical stuff you see in coming of age themes of like searching for a connection, trying to find, someone out there to talk to, relate to, whatever it may be that we see in these movies typically. She did a great job with that. I mean, her just going through YouTube up late at night. I can't like count how many times as a teenager myself being on Justin.tv and being on one of those like instant loop videos over and over again. They have captured that perfectly here. The other thing is, I mean, the performances here too. I haven't written down my phone, my bad. I forgot to pull that up. The performances here from just the two characters alone. Anna Cobb, who I think amazing breakout performance. Very much was entertained by it for majority of this film. I thought like, any scene she does, looking at the camera and everything, she just does it perfectly, man. Like, she has this perfect sense of like what I like just imagine nowadays. I was never really into creepypastas. I had a period where I did like a rabbit hole deep dive of it, and just reading YouTube comments, it's like she emulated those YouTube comments of people who are addicted to creepypastas perfectly. Just like, they're just really into it, want to believe, as Don was saying, the mythology behind it, and adding to the mythology on their own. Like, this movie actually reminded me so much. This is when I went down the creepypasta hole, but the Slender Man era of it. And
it reminded me a lot of Slender Man.
Yeah, it reminded me of that a ton. And when you're following Anna Cobb's journey through it, it just reminded me just like my own journey through it of like looking at other YouTube videos and just seeing the creativity that people did around that time, trying to make you believe Slender Man is real, and the other like imitations of it, like the one with the smiling person with the two knives. I always forget like their names because they just weren't as iconic as Slender Man. She to me, amazing young actress that I will be looking forward to seeing in the future. And then you have is his name, is it Theo?
Michael J. Rogers.
Michael J. Rogers, who, I mean, to talk about one of the creepiest performances I've seen this year, of like, he's got that, like, when you hear about these people on the internet, like, like, I don't know how to describe them. I really don't, but just people who, like, are night owls of the internet. Like, they're up at night on the deepest, darkest sides of the web. Not like, like the illegal side, but just like these creepy pasta sides. And they're just
this dude's posture alone was creepy.
Yeah. The way he
this dude sat creepy. He breathed creepy. He blinked creepy.
The way he drank milk was creepy.
This dude existed creepily.
The only thing that clashed with that is how big his freaking house was. Like, holy shit.
Well, I don't even think that was
dude,
his
how
house.
is this guy this rich?
I think, dude, in all honesty, I know they never really go into it, but I felt like this was like, I really do feel like he was living still at home with his parents or like with somebody. Maybe brother
okay, that's
something.
true. That's a good point.
Like, I felt that way. Like, he just hasn't, like, he is just not sociably affable, and just the internet side of like this online role-playing game of we're going to the World's Fair is like something that obviously sticks with him. And you get little hints of that by looking in his room, and you see the drawings he's created. His damn Skype profile pic is the creepiest fucking thing in this movie.
How did Anna Cobb's character know how to use Skype? That's my question. Why does anyone know how to use Skype?
Even the video, like, he's like, I made a video to contact you with, and the video he uses to do that was like terrifying as hell.
Whatever happened to just DMing people or like commenting or something? This guy had to make like a, like an I'm gonna kidnap you in 5 days.
Like at home 9 Inch Nails lyric video. Like,
I'm totally interrupting, John. I'm stealing your train of thought, but like, dude, that's another level of creepy here, which is the inappropriate and exploitative nature of all of this.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Casey is what, 12, 13, maybe 15 at most. And this dude is like in his 40s, at least 50s, maybe like a rough 50, but like still.
And the thing is though, is that, and I applaud this film for doing it, is that With a young girl like this on this side of the internet, it totally feels believable that this would happen and feels like it's stuff that is happening. And I felt like that to me, well, as Dom was saying, like, scared of the unknown. Yeah, like, if there's anything, it's just scary because it just feels real. There, like, as Dom was saying, and I was going to jump in about, I was like, I don't want to, interrupt here or anything because I do it all the fucking time too. But when he mentioned The Conjuring and stuff like that, for horror movies I love. There is a point, though, and even with the horror film I saw last night, there is a point, though, you get to what the actual threat is, and it kind of, like, you kind of level there. Like, it's still scary, it's still creepy, but okay, the threat in The Conjuring are demons. We're not going to go past that. It's just demons. Whether or not you believe demons are real, that is where your cap is at. With this movie, it's like, there was always this underlying feeling of tension in my stomach of, is something going to happen? Is someone going to kill someone? Is something creepy going to happen? Are these transformations that she's seeing through other users on this video, are these real? Or is someone actually turning into plastic? Is someone actually growing demon wings? Like, what the hell is happening? All of that is captured so damn good within this movie. And I hate to say it, because Steve saw my star rating. As much praise as I'm getting it, this movie just isn't made for me. And it when it comes down to it, it was just the pacing. This movie killed it for me, man. The quietness, the ambiance of it truly did kill it for me. And I feel like it was the director's vision for it, because, like, there are parts of this where it works exceedingly well, and there's parts of this where, I was fighting to stay awake. And to me, it's like
ASMR.
Man, that ASMR. I watch ASMR to go to bed, so that part almost sent me to my sleep. It sucks so much because it's like, I see the awards that this movie got on its poster, and I see the 90% that it has on Rotten Tomatoes. It's like, I hate to be one of those people. It's just like, it's like everything I see why it has that, and I completely agree. It's just, for me personally, I wouldn't be part of that 90% if I was an official critic.
It's frustrating because it does so many things new and well, or at least in a unique way.
It just
but
didn't
if you
work
can't
for
get
me.
that fundamental,
it just didn't work. Like, I wasn't as invested as this movie as it turned out Dom was. Like, I was wondering, like, who was gonna, like, I didn't see your things, Steve. So I met, but, like, from just the opening you had, I knew you liked this movie. It just sucks coming, like, out of this movie. When I finished it on HBO Max, just sitting there on my bed, I was just like, damn it, like, I feel like I'm gonna be the odd man out here. Because I even felt like, I feel like Dom is actually gonna be totally into this movie because of the psychological effect it has on people, and the fact that we as a young generation, like, we can relate to this pretty hard with how much we grew up with the internet, and, like I said, the Slender Man era, creepypastas, all of that. It really did suck coming out of this movie and feeling that way. It's just like, I'm not gonna, like, it's not like, when, like, I told people, like, because there are some other film friends I do talk to, and they told me they fucking hated this movie because, like, this isn't their cup of tea as well. But then again, they also did not like stuff like Hereditary and some other, like, horror films like that. And Hereditary, Midsommar, stuff like that. I mean, I love Midsommar, but, like, those kind of horror films I can get behind. It just sucks that this is one of them that I could get behind. It's just, it didn't win me over as much as those other films did. But I do applaud everybody involved. If everything that Dom has said, even I have said positively, has sounded like your cup of tea, check this movie out, because I commend everything that I have said to the highest degree. It just didn't work for me. But if it sounds like it's going to work for you, by all means, pay for an HBO Max subscription before it gets ruined by Discovery Plus. Check out the rest of the catalog on there. But do check out this movie.
Would you say lesser than the sum of its parts?
I guess, yeah.
Would that?
Yeah.
Or is that just me trying to be witty?
Like, I've been talking for a long time too now, and for God's sakes, the show has this guy's name in it. So Steve, please, like, before we go to halftime.
He's reviewing a whole ass movie by himself. We can take over.
That's true. It's fine. It's fine with me. I'm the one who's vertical. Now we'll take our intermission here shortly. The thing, and I kind of caught on this movie's wavelength, at least early on, in terms of this, because Schoenbrunn has come out and said too that the movie is kind of wrapped around the idea and the process of coming out.
Yeah.
That's kind of the wrap around with the movie. or at least one of the themes, like even gender dysphoria too. There's an element of that.
Shawbrun is
which
non-binary, and
yeah.
they did switch names. So I think they used to be called, their birth name was Dan. Now it's Jane. So yeah, I can definitely see that angle of it as well.
I think there's absolutely that angle, and I could see why they took it that way. Moreover, though, too, did anybody get, this is just totally random, I just want to mention this. Did anybody get that, like, from Anna Cobb really reminded me, and I think it's just in vague appearance, of Elsie K. Fisher from 8th grade?
Yes.
Well, actually, no, but I've seen a lot of comparisons to 8th grade, this being the dark
The dark 8th grade.
8th grade, the really disturbing stuff.
This is eighth grade Zoom edition.
8th grade has a really dark scene in it, and it's like, imagine that one scene was just the whole movie.
We needed the kid to yell LeBron James during this and lighten this shit up a little bit. I mean,
I needed to see some flossing. I needed to see some like Fortnite gameplay. I needed to be like, okay, give me some.
There was a dance. She just screamed in the middle of it.
Oh yeah. That dance scene was one of my favorite scenes in the whole thing. You know what we needed? We needed, after that dance scene, we needed a Gucci or something. You know what I mean?
A dab.
Like a dab, exactly. But
the ending monologue is just him like dabbing. Just
oh man, but yeah, this thing is bizarre, but it's interesting in its sparseness, and it only is like 86 minutes long. Yeah. It's not a long movie whatsoever. But like I said, like I understand the idea of what they're trying to convey. The thing that lost me, though, is that I wanted it to be, I don't mind JLB, Michael J. Rogers' character use or whatever existing and being shown. My problem was more in line with the fact that I feel like the movie pivots too much from Casey to like these other random array of YouTube videos that I understand are trying to contextualize the World's Fair. And if we're looking at the coming out angle, everybody's experience is different if you couldn't detect that. But it doesn't add to Casey's own plight. It doesn't add to it. And especially there's no real connective tissue. And I get everybody's experience is different. But for the purpose of a contained 86-minute movie, there was really no connective tissue between these videos that are being shown, some of which aren't even directly applicable to the World's Fair.
Yeah. I felt like...
1 minute.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'll wrap this up real quick. I felt like what the criticism that you just brought up, that was also something I had in mind too, was that, and that's what ruined kind of the pacing of this movie for me, was the fact that it keeps jumping around. I understand they're trying to contextualize like how this world is, like, you know, and everything. It just, to me, I felt like we got that out of the way within the first 30 minutes, and it just kept going and going and going throughout this whole movie up until the very end. And I was just like, I don't need to see any more of this. It is creepy. It is adding to this movie, but it's just like, it's taking away from, to me, what was more interesting, which is Anna Cobb's character, Casey.
We'll have to cut to break. We'll be back shortly. Take our intermission. Keep it right here. This is Sleepless with Steve. Back and better than ever, Sleepless with Steve, as I'm trying to monkey with my lighting over here, trying to figure out what accents are.
Looks like he's about to do the challenge.
I was gonna say, put on glow in the dark paint. Tap your finger a few times.
Trying to figure out, what accentuates my features. I always say I look best in bad lighting. But anyway, bless the computer screen glow right here, too. It's very weird doing this on mobile, I must say. It's very weird being in space for this. But anyway, glad it's connected. That's all I care about. But we're back talking about We're All Going to the World's Fair, a movie that, like I said, about 20 minutes in, I was like, what the hell did I make these guys watch? Overall, I'm going to say this, too. I admire this movie, I think, more than I liked it. I think I'm having a lot more fun and a lot more entertainment talking about it than I did watching it. I can't deny the artistic craft here, and I like a lot of movies, too, that are set on the internet. And I know that's a genre that a lot of people dismiss and critique and aren't very kind to.
I loved Unfriended and Searching. Like, I thought those were two, like, very fun movies.
Searching is a crowning achievement of the genre, in my opinion, and I even liked a lot Unfriended Dark Web, the sequel to Unfriended. That was a great sequel and a great web-based movie.
It's a fine line. Sometimes I roll my eyes and cringe at someone trying to emulate that internet look and, being like from webcam or smartphone. Other times it's the greatest thing in the world. So it's really dependent on how you do it. And I can't really accentuate other than just it's there when it's there. It works when it works.
But I think Anna Cobb, is very good. But at the same time, though, I feel like the movie just kind of shifts around. There's a part in the second act that is like, I want to say, what is it, like 10 minutes of just YouTube videos or close to it?
Where
it's just sort of a montage of different YouTube videos. And I felt like every scene, forget the scenes with JLB, I thought they added some dimension.
They did.
I didn't like how the movie ended with him without spoiling it. I didn't like how he got the final word and the final shot. I didn't like that part of it. I thought that was a botched creative decision on Schoenbrun's part. But every scene, once that montage of YouTube videos came along, the less time I spent with Casey, the more frustrated I became, because I think Anna Cobb kills most of her scenes. There's even one scene involving her stuffed animal that really saddened me. And like it was like a pang almost. Like it was, especially in the aftermath of it. Like I get really sad by like scenes like that, like scenes of like young people exhibiting like unchecked rage and then realizing the consequences of their actions. It just makes me sad for some reason. And that scene was really effective in that department, though. But yeah, I felt like every scene that didn't focus on Casey took away from the larger theme. What do you say, Dom?
It's a very fine tightrope to walk, just because you need something refreshing other than just this girl in her room, to break up the pace. But at the same time, yeah, maybe you take too much away from it. And I honestly don't know how to walk that line, how you could have walked that line. But ultimately, I don't know if we're moving to final thoughts here, but I do think that this film will stand out in my mind. Truthfully, as Steve said, he admired it more than he actually liked it. I think I'm the same way. I would say I respect it more than I actually do like it. Will I watch this again? Absolutely not. Just because it scares me. But I will probably wind up watching parts of a YouTube analysis on it.
Absolutely.
Frankly, this movie probably could have fared better as like a 2-part YouTube alternate reality game or something. Now I understand, the point is to make the movie, right? How do you make that jump from something like an online ARG based in social media and all that stuff, and how do you translate to actual movie? This is probably as good as we're going to get, at least for a while. At least as intimate, as close. This got like Blair Witch elements to it, man. And it's got a very diegetic and also non-diegetic camera. It's working its technical magic despite looking like 480p crap, and very concertedly. And to that end, I really do laud it, dude. I'm gonna give this a high 3 out of 4 stars. Like, I'm impressed by this movie. Having absolutely no concept of what the hell we were freaking watching. I when you saw We're All Going to the World's Fair, I'm like, oh, is this like a fun like turn of the century, like late 1800s musical. Like,
I legit
no.
Looking at that post, I legit thought like something was like gonna come out of the internet and haunt this girl or something. Like that's what I thought this movie was.
Like The Ring. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It is like The Ring for a new generation, and I'll say I don't mean to steal your thunder if you're done with your final thoughts.
That's all I'm saying.
I forgot the movie's best element of tension. Anytime the next video was loading,
that buffering.
Because I just keep waiting for like a close up of like a demon and like blowing up the audio or something like that.
The buffering, you hate buffering. It's such an innate thing you want to hate, you do hate so much, and to see it weaponized here against you in this movie, that I'm glad you brought that up. I wasn't even thinking about that. I almost
forgot about that because I have not written my review of it. I've kind of wanted to do this show before I wrote a review, and you guys kind of helped contextualize and I guess sort of streamline my thoughts on this better than I had going in. I give it 2.5 out of 4 stars. Again, I admire it more than I liked it, and I enjoyed discussing it more than I did watching it. But there is stuff here. There is absolutely stuff here. And it's going to be a divisive watch. It's going to be divisive as all hell. I can already see that. But it's interesting. And I'm really interested to see what Anna Cobb is going to do next, too, because that's always my curiosity point here with these child actors is, the route they're going to go down in terms of the films that they get, they choose or get chosen for them. So I'm interested in that. And Jane Schoenbrunn, too. I think they had a really good story for this one, too. I just think some of it got lost in translation along the way. 2.5 out of 4 stars. Joe will send us home on We're All Going to the World's Fair.
I mean, like, just to kind of piggyback off of what all three of us have been kind of like saying, and me right here I'm about to say, is that despite me not being like, too, like I didn't like this movie as much as Dom or even as much as Steve to an extent, I did love talking about it. Like, these are the kind of movies, it's like, here's the thing. Even if it's a movie I wasn't that crazy about, didn't like, whatever, if I can talk about it like this, that tells you something, that this film at least gave me something to talk about, compared to something that's mediocre, forgettable, or just bad, that I don't want to talk about, or just like, just write it off like, yeah, it sucks, that's it, that's the end. But if it's something that's just like, hey, I wasn't crazy about it, but here are some actual good things that I want to bring up that the director, the actors, everybody involved did, that I feel like they should be commended for, and I can't wait to see their next work. And as like basically the wrap up I will give that movie. Everybody involved was great. I can't wait to see what they do next. And at the end of the day, as much as I wasn't like in love with this movie, didn't like it, I did enjoy talking about it with you guys. But not only that, I did enjoy like like coming like kind of talk about like what didn't work for me, but what really did. And seeing that we all agreed on that. To me, these kind of movies, while they can be divisive for some people, and people can just absolutely just hate this kind of film, to me, these make it really fun. As Tom was saying, like, when you want to test that limit with a film friend, these kind of movies can make it fun when I have, like, two guys like this to talk about it at night on a Wednesday.
I'm so sorry to steal the last
word.
Wait,
hold on. Sorry. 2 out of 4 stars. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, no, honestly, I get that. Every criticism I completely understand, and I frankly share. But sorry to steal the last word. We are so bad. I am particularly bad at failing to mention the composers and the score here. Alex G brought a weird twist, and I really enjoyed it. It was like faux 80s, but like new age, but also like self-aware that it was doing that retroactive thing. And it just made it that much more disturbing. So kudos to Alex G for this one.
I've heard that name. I was just briefly glancing at his Wikipedia page. I feel like I know a song by him. I feel because he's done a lot of music. I feel like I know a certain song by him, but I just can't place it.
Probably have. I probably do, yeah.
But we will pivot here. I'm not going to take too much time on this, famous last words. But I did want to address Clerks 3. I did want to give a review of this movie. I saw it last night, and it was definitely an emotional experience, and I absolutely knew it going into it that it was going to be an emotional experience for me. I can't remember walking into a theater as nervous as I was for Clerks 3. it's almost kind of comical in a way. I'm not a person that really harbors a lot of aggressive fanboy, fanatical obsessions with like Marvel, with certain franchises, Star Wars. That's never been me. But I adore Kevin Smith's View Askew universe. Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Clerks 2. I'm here for it all. I can tell you characters, names like Julie Dwyer, who never even appeared but are constantly mentioned. The minutia of this world has been in my life so long, I do not remember a time when I was without it. Going back to seeing Clerks way too young at 8 years old, and having it be the movie that I hold dear to my heart. No movie means as much to me as the original Clerks does. And I don't think any movie ever will either. But I was nervous going into Clerks 3 for a couple of different reasons. Number one, Kevin Smith has not been the same director since he started smoking weed about 12 years ago or so. He just hasn't. I think he's made one good movie since he started chiefing blunts at the rate of Snoop Dogg. And I think that movie is Tusk. He's not been the same writer-director. And a lot of his most recent works, including Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, they've really been predicated on nostalgic callbacks. It feels like Kevin Smith ran out of after Tusk has completely lost the ability to tell a fresh new story. And it's sad in a way. And Clerks 3, and I want to say this because everybody and their mother was asking me what I thought of the trailer when it dropped for Clerks 3, because I know how much Clerks means to me. And I said, I don't like the plot of this movie. How the plot of the movie revolves around Randall, without going into too much detail, no spoilers here. Dante and Randall are working at the Quick Stop, and Randall suffers a heart attack. And Randall's response now to realize that he didn't have a life worth saving. He hasn't done anything with his life. He's in his late 40s. His response is to make a movie about him and Dante working at the Quick Stop. And this is, you might have lost count. I surprised a coworker when I was telling him about this today. This is the fourth movie Kevin Smith has made about making a goddamn movie. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Zack and Miri Make a Porno, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, and now you have Clerks 3. 4 movies of Kevin Smith's filmography, that's like a fifth, I want to say, of his filmography is about making a movie. And the excuse then is to, and I knew it from the trailer, the excuse there is then it sort of justifies these nostalgic callbacks. Hey, remember when a customer wanted to rent dental school? Remember Chuli's gum? Remember movies? Remember all this stuff? Nails, cigarettes. Remember the Chuli's gum guy who brought the lung into the store? All these things from a movie we've seen before, and a movie that we've seen time and time again before. And that's why Clerks 3 is one of the most confounding movies for me to review and quantify. Because I really liked the first 20 minutes of this movie. I really liked the first 20 minutes. And I really liked the last 25. I got emotional several times during this movie. Kevin Smith goes there in a lot of different ways. He is not afraid to alter the characters, the course of the events of this movie, the characters' lives in general, and your perception of these characters as well. That is where he was brave with this movie, is that this movie has stakes. And it has real life themes of aging, mortality, grief, loss, everything in between. Sandwiched between weed, dick, and fart jokes, because that's Kevin Smith's ultimate brand. But when it comes to the mortality angle of this movie, there's some heavy, heavy material here that I think is handled very well. Somebody on Letterboxd joked, and I had to laugh, but somebody on Letterboxd said, this is the movie with the worst acting to make me cry. And I might agree. In some. There's one scene involving Dante and his wife, Becky, Rosario Dawson in the movie, that is gutted me. And I related to it on a serious level, even though I'm not married. Related to that on a real serious level. And then there's the last 25 minutes, which, slight hokiness aside, believe it or not, kind of works with this movie. I was stunned by that. Now, the first 25 and the last 20 minutes don't make a whole movie. What's up with the 50 minutes in between? it's filled with a lot more misses than hits, because once Randall gets the cameras rolling in the quick stop, once Elias, the devout Christian from Clerks 2, becomes a Satanist rather inexplicably, and once old customers, characters show up to reenact the events of Clerks while Dante and Randall are making a movie about their life, it all becomes intensely meta. And Kevin Smith starts using Clerks 3 as like an outlet or a channel for his own life experiences instead of further developing these characters when it counts at the core of the plot. And that frustrated me. That really frustrated me because of how much I love when the lights kind of went down and the music got a little sadder and they went into the mortality angle and legacy angle of this movie. When Clerks 3 does that, it nails a lot. It nails a lot. And that ending, and again, I'm not spoiling it. I walked in a bit of a cloud of feelings today and emotions because these characters mean so much to me. Dante, Randall, Veronica, Marilyn Gigliotti returns. This is only her second Kevin Smith movie ever, which is really rare for these recurring characters. But Marilyn Gigliotti's back as Dante's ex-girlfriend. Unbelievably surprising entrance, and what an emotional roller coaster ride. Tour de force performance from Gigliotti on that. Jennifer Schwalbach-Smith, Kevin Smith's wife, her character Emma returns. You get a lot of familiar faces in this movie. The music is really good. Jay and Silent Bob, I can't believe I've went almost 10 minutes, haven't even mentioned them. Jay and Silent Bob are used pretty sparingly in this movie, which is good because they already got their own movie, their own sequel reboot 3 years ago. The music is good in this movie. John Gorka's ballad, I'm From New Jersey, plays during the end credits. And it reminds you in that moment, once it starts playing, that this movie, this trilogy rather, is a love letter to Jersey. I called it, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one to make this claim. This is Kevin Smith's Before trilogy. And it concludes beautifully. The last 20 minutes concludes, I think, beautifully. An ending that's, I think, once you overcome the shock of it, does indeed make a lot of sense because in turn, another character, we'd like to think, takes an alternate perspective on how to treat people and appreciate life. I'll close by saying this. I've written 3 reviews of Clerks since I began writing reviews. I just wrote my 3rd review of Clerks last week. I've reviewed Clerks 2 twice now. And I'll probably come back to Clerks 3 when it comes on DVD. And I don't know what I'm going to think of it then. I'm giving you the thoughts about 24 hours after I saw it. Full review, in depth at stevepulaski.com. I'm really glad Clerks 3 exists. I wish it were better. 2.5 out of 4 stars for Clerks 3. It's in theaters now. It's a Fathom event. Really glad that Fathom did pick this up via Lionsgate. It is in theaters now until September 18th. And Kevin Smith is also on the Convenience Tour as well for the foreseeable future, going city to city. But yeah, 2.5 out of 4 stars for Clerks 3. And again, wish it was a better plot. I think a more grounded, down to earth, lacking meta jokes, making the whole movie about meta jokes. I shouldn't say lacking in those kind of jokes, but making the whole movie this meta regurgitation of Kevin Smith's life. I don't like that plot. And it's lucky it doesn't buckle everything else here that's really good, such as the musings on mortality. 2.5 out of 4 stars for Clerks 3. Glad it exists at the end of the day. I didn't cry, and I did not cry during this review either. Give me props. Because I was a fiend yesterday at the theater. You'd have thought I saw Marley and Me at some points. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Man, I cried 3 different points of this movie. 3 different points of this damn movie yesterday. Crying in the club, crying in the popcorn yesterday. Oh, man. That's Clerks 3. That is Clerks 3. And that's
Proud
where
of you,
we
dude. Proud of you.
I appreciate it. And that's where we will conclude things tonight. This has been Sleepless with Steve, live and in living color. Out here in the road, out here in the dirt, making it work. It really looks like space now. I got no lights on in my apartment right now. We're all going to the World's Fair after this show ends. But yes, great show. Thanks to these two gentlemen, Joe Viso, Dominic Guanzon. Next week, I'm drawing a blank. What are we tackling next week?
Pearl.
I'm drawing a blank. Pearl, duh. Pearl, the one I'm seeing tomorrow. The X prequel we're tackling tomorrow. I got thinking about the ending of Clerks 3. Blame it on that. Pearl, I'm seeing tomorrow. We'll tackle it next week. Maxine got announced too. How about that? We are getting an X sequel up pretty soon as well. So stay after the end credits if you're seeing Pearl. I'm also saying that to these two gentlemen as well, Dom and Joe. Stay after the credits because there's a teaser trailer for Maxine. I say Maxine because there's 3 X's in the title. I'm super pumped. How are we feeling about Pearl? Last things last.
I'm excited because I heard Mia Goth actually wrote this movie, and I thought that was actually really cool to find out. So it's like, I did not know that. I only thought Ty West wrote this movie like he did for X, but no, Mia Goth apparently wrote this one.
Dom, how you feeling about Pearl?
I'm a little excited for it, low key, but still so, because the first one was a pretty fun 70s romp, and that had a good old body count, but it was still some pretty fun. And compared to World's Fair, this is going to be a fun. It'll be the World's Fair in comparison.
Dom's gonna watch someone get decapitated. He's gonna be like, "Oh, thank God."
I just gotta remind Dom, you've already made one lewd, outspoken comment about Kid Cudi's appendage. You got one. You got one mulligan. I know he's not in Pearl, but you can't do it again for this next review next week. Fine. You can't do it again. You got one damn mulligan. That's where we will end things. Highlights will be posted on the YouTube channel on which you are watching this show right now. Thank you for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. For Joe Viso, Dominic Guanzon, and yours truly, this has been Sleepless with Steve.